My frustration was mixed with the depressing atmosphere of all this, making the experience altogether unnerving and uncomfortable. But I couldn't tear myself away. I was starting to get a bit angry, though. Nobody telling me anything besides giving me their condolences and trying to give me items like lemonade or coffee, each met with, no. I slapped myself for idiocy, suddenly realizing how the likely answer was right in front of me. Palatown, of course. When I went there, though, which took a long time, having to walk, no Pokemon to fly with, no bicycle road to ride, and Steven only seemed to move half the regular movement speed, it wasn't much different. I first tried talking to Professor Oak. These things happen. You were just unlucky. Next, I tried Blue's sister. Please, don't leave home again. Red's mom wouldn't even talk to me at all. With nowhere else in mind to go, I walked to the west, finding the house from the beginning, which I had never entered since leaving Palatown. Inside was Mike. Talking to him was just as useless. I'm so sorry. I pondered for a moment if this really was the ending. Stephen doomed to do nothing but roam Kanto in misery, haunted by the memories, forced to listen to everyone's concerns about him. As a last-ditch effort to do anything, I went to the bedroom and walked over to the bed. I'm going to sleep. The screen faded to black for a moment, but then slowly faded back in, the world having a black tint to it. The Mike sprite laying in the other bed. I assumed this meant it was night. I'm going to do it. Do what? Again, I had no idea. Tried inspecting everything in the room. Nothing happened. As soon as I left the house, another dialogue. It can bring her back. It can do anything! What in the hell was it? Something that could do anything. I couldn't for the life of me figure it out. Wondering about, I tried to leave Palatown the usual way. Not that way. He wouldn't go any further. I tried the homes. Screw them. I quirked my eyebrow at that, forgetting for a moment that this was not a real Pokemon game. The vulgarities took me off guard. I continued to look around, but there was nowhere I could go, until I accidentally stepped on the ocean, and Steven walked right in, only the upper half of his sprite visible, like the swimmers who encountered the cerulean gym. I didn't know he could swim. The missing one. Missing one? I paused for a moment. No, he couldn't possibly mean that. I hadn't tried the missing note trick on this hack yet, but it just fit too well. That had to be what he meant. I surfed all the way towards Cinnabar. I began to feel something was off, more than this already was. Silence. The Lavender Town theme had stopped. There was no noise at all, nor were there any Pokemon. I just kept going, finding Cinnabar and surfing up and down the east coast, lo and behold. Wild Missing No appeared. Mine. Wild Missing No was caught. What the hell? Steven didn't even do anything. He just commanded that atrocity of Broken Dad to join him. No, become his possession. And it did. I was getting more and more disturbed by this all. Checking the start menu, I saw Missing No was now on my party, but instead an item, making things even stranger. I took the trainer card as well. Steven has his back to me, his long hair draped behind him, his hands in his pockets, nothing else. Remembering what he said at the start of this night, I realized what I had to do. I surfed the land and made my way northeast to where else? Lavender Town. Along the way, I noticed all the trainers, oddly still out this hour, wouldn't look at Steve. All of them turning when he passed, even those that were normally static. I tried talking to one of the officers of the guardhouse-type buildings. Just go. They all said the same thing, though one sent chills down my spine. Sometimes, dead is best. My hands were sweating by this point. Stephen was about to try the impossible, something some would see as a crime against nature, which many of these people shared that opinion. I steeled myself. It's just a game, and I was going to complete it. It took an eternity to reach Pokemon Tower, but I got there eventually, taking a deep breath and heading toward the tombstone. I remember which one. The image of Steven standing before it was burned into my mind, after all. First, I tried inspecting it. Miki. Nothing happened. With a gulp, I opened the menu and selected Missing Note from the bag. Steven, don't use it! I was reminded of when Professor Oak would magically tell you that you couldn't use a key item somewhere, like when using the bicycle in the building, although the message this time was different. Even worse, Steve responded to it. In a world that cheated me, why should I play fair? Stephen used it. Stephen obtained murder. What in God's name did I obtain? I couldn't tell you because the game took away my control. Without my input, Stephen began to leave the tower on his own, walking single step by single step. The Lavender Town theme started again as he left the tower and began his excruciatingly slow journey against my will. Every time he crossed one of the borders where the music would change, it got progressively slower, more and more disturbing. By the time he reached the Lurillian City, it was a demonic rumbling. I just stared, watching him, trying to guess where he was going. But it was getting more and more obvious. He was heading to Palatown. The music had all but stopped when he got there, playing single note by single note. He went exactly where I'd guessed, right to his own house, inside and up the stairs. At this point, there was no music. Stephen moved step by step, stopping at his brother's bed, turning to face him. At first, I thought the game froze. He didn't do anything, simply stood there, and I couldn't move him. I did, however, find out I could open the pause menu. I was terrified to look, but I couldn't stop myself. I selected his trainer card. There's a low growl noise, like a distorted Pokemon cry. Stephen was looking at me again, directly at the screen. He was hunched over, his bangs obscuring his face. His hair was wild and feathered out. Between his bangs, there wasn't even a face at all, just black, two red eyes looking straight forward, a white grin contrasting with the darkness. That wasn't all. His name was now Stephen. I couldn't look away, my eyes glued to him, not breaking contact for some time. My vision was getting blurry until I couldn't see very well. My face grew wet. I was crying, like a baby. There was nothing I could do to hold back the tears. I was with this boy from the start. I built him up to greatness. It was then forced to watch his decline after a tragic accident. And now, he was this thing, this abomination. I watched him go insane, halting my tears, wiping my eyes. I closed out the trainer card and tried to save the game. Wanted to just quit. The game informed me this was impossible. Nothing can be saved now. The pause menu wouldn't close no matter what I did. So with no other option, I checked the bag. Nothing happened. I checked Pokemon, and there was one. A single sprite met me. It had 0 HP. Status, dead. Its name, Miki. I selected it, and I was greeted with 4 options. Status, it's her. Switch, never. Close, no. Strangle. My fingers shaking, I selected Strangle. The menu closed, showing Steve in the room again. Goodbye. The game shut itself off. I was more dumbfounded than frightened. In a bit of shock, I turned it back on. The title screen showing the manic Stephen and a horribly glitched Charizard. I pressed start, then continue. All I saw was a zoomed-out view of Palatown, showing Stephen's home to the west tall grass surrounding it. Those unmovable stones blocking it from the rest of the town. The image was completely static. No music, no movement, before fading to white, going back to the title screen. It was as it had been when I first popped it in. A trainer and a Charizard. I attempted to continue. No!